This conference will now be recorded.
We start the magnetic circuits. So in the previous day's class, as you have seen that for the first of all, the experiment conducted is an Eirsted experiment, right? So based on the Eirsted experiment only, we can recombine an electric field and a magnetic field. So that's why a magnetic and electric field can be combined, and a new branch of engineering called an electromagnetic fields. Electromagnetic fields is now established here. Now, what Eirsted has done is that he has simply taken a compass here, and he has placed this compass below a current carrying conductor. Below a current carrying conductor. So when by default the compass is going to be indicating the north and south directions of an earth, but because of the current flowing through the conductor here, now uh, the compass needle is going to be deflected. That is, our compass pointing of north and south directions point were changed, modified. Yes, ma'am. One second. వరే మొక్క దానిపైన పెట్టమని చెప్పి. One second. Welcome. Yes. So in those days, what Oersted has done is that he has simply placed a compass below a current carrying conductor. So because of the flow of the current through the conductor, now the direction of the magnetic field, I mean direction of the compass needle is being changed. So he has concluded that whenever current is passing through the conductor, then a magnetic field is going to be set up in the conductor. So because of the magnetic field set up by the current carrying conductor, now the compass directions are changed. So that's why he has interlinked an electric field and a magnetic field. Fine. Now after seen some of the basics of magnetic flux, flux density, B, flux density B is equal to mu into H, as you are seeing here. The flux density B and magnetic field strength H is equal to MMF Ni into, that is an MMF. So here the important things to be kept in mind is that an MMF is equal to N into I, and magnetic field strength H is equal mmf by L per meter. And an important interlink between B and mu H is your flux density is equal to permeability mu into magnetic field strength H. Okay. And then afterwards, we need to remember about the term of reluctance S, where reluctance S is the opposition offered to the flow of magnetic flux phi. So, similar to the resistance, and units of reluctance are Siemens. That is going to be an indicated with letter S. Unit of reluctance is equal an ampere turn per Weber. Fine. Now, we have seen the comparison of how an electric field and the magnetic field are going to be compared. Now, in terms of electric field, as you are here having a volt here, at here it is an mmf. Units of the EMF is volt, and units of an mmf is an ampere turn. And similarly, the electric circuit will be having current measured in amperes. But now here it is magnetic flux measured in Webers. Now, similar to the term of resistance in the electrical circuit, we will be having reluctance term in magnetic circuits here. Magnetic circuit, current density, flux density, etc. Now, since some of the comparison of electric field and magnetic field, then after in the leakage flux path also. Now, we'll come back to our topic actually. So that now, what are the losses that are going to be taking place in the magnetic circuits is that there are two types of losses are there. One is the hysteresis loss, and another one is an eddy current loss. Let us see about the hysteresis loss in this now. So, this is the magnetic core, as you know. So that whenever some current is passing through that core, then magnetic flux is going to be set up in that conductor core. Magnetic flux is going to set up in that conductor core here. So that magnetism is going to be taking place in the form of this loop curve, which is called as a hysteresis loop. This loop of magnetic field within the core, within the conductor material is called as a hysteresis loop. A hysteresis loop here. So, certain amount of energy is going to be consumed by the core material or to get store some magnetic energy. So, the loss appearing within the magnetic material is called a hysteresis loop. Now, its formula can be calculated as an hysteresis loss W suffix H is equal to an hysteresis loss WH is equal and eta. This is called as an eta. ETA, eta. A Greek letter it is eta, which can also be called a Steinmetz hysteresis coefficient. It is name of the person Steinmetz. Bmax is the maximum flux density. Bmax is flux density B. Bmax per 1.6. Now its full formula is an eta Bmax power maximum flux density Bmax power 1.6 into F into V, where F is the frequency of the supply and V is volume of core it is. These formulas will come actually for your secondary subjects of DC machines. Now in the DC machines, you need to calculate these losses also. So that here within a magnetic circuit here, the first loss to be appearing in a magnetic circuit is a hysteresis loss. The formula for the hysteresis loss is this one. Based upon this hysteresis loss here, we can draw a curve called as BH curve. Right? This curve can be drawn. This curve is called as BH loop or BH curve. That is flux density B versus magnetic field intensity BH. So that's why this curve can be called as BH curve also. BH curve it is called as BH loop curve. Based upon this BH loop curve also to solve some problems afterwards there. So this is the first class to be taking place, that is hysteresis class. Now, so this is a typical curve of a hysteresis class. So that here an x-axis is your magnetic field strength H, magnetic field strength H in ampere turn meters, and y-axis is your flux density B, So that the curve drawn between B and H, flux density and H is called a BH loop curve, or simply it can be called a hysteresis curve, also. Okay. Now, if you can carefully observe this figure, this line of this bluish line is for material of sheet steel sheet. It is for steel sheet, and this curve is for this portion is for a cast steel, different types of steel, sheet steel, cast steel, and this type of curve is for cast iron material. That is, the hysteresis loop curve actually depends on type of the material eta. Now the type of the material can be further. The type of the material can be, that is Steinmetz constant eta. Now here the Steinmetz constant eta, it depends on the type of the material. Eta depends on type of the material. So that for a different type of materials, we will be having a different characteristics. Fine. Now the second type of the law that is going to be taking place within the magnetic circuits is an eddy current loss here. An eddy current loss. What are the eddy currents actually? You know that according to the Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction and induction, an EMF is going to be induced in the conductors, and EMF is also going to be induced in core of the materials also, so that core is going to be forming a closed path for the current induced in the core. So currents magnetically induced in the core of a material are called as an eddy current. The loss going to be taking place because of this eddy current is called as an eddy current loss. It is. Okay, is clear? So whenever an EMF is induced in the core as well as in the conductor also, now current flowing in the core can be called an eddy current. The loss appearing due to eddy currents is called an eddy current loss. These two type of losses are going to be taking place in a magnetic circuit here. In a magnetic circuit. So with this knowledge about the magnetic circuit, we'll think about what are the laws that are going to be applicable or useful in magnetic fields here. Okay, are you able to follow me? Respond anybody? Are you able to follow me?
Yes, sir.
Or is there any difficulty in understanding subject?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. We are going in deep because because in the third chapter terminology is different, notation is different, symbols are different, and each and everything is different. So that's why I took up this topic at the ending only. Okay, at the ending only. Yeah. Now, I'll try to revision the topic carefully so that you can understand here. Now, the subject is mostly related to your first year, first semester subject of electromagnetic field. Do you have grip on the electromagnetic field subject in first semester? Respond, please. Do you have the grip on the electromagnetic fields in first semester?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
If you have a thorough idea about the electromagnetic fields, then it would become easy. Now, you have already crossed the first semester. You crossed the electromagnetic fields and revising this same topics of electromagnetic field, that may be difficult for you. You don't have the knowledge in the electromagnetic field. So, after the lockdown, if time is there, then I will try to teach you that electromagnetic field subject also. If you are interested after the lockdown in the college session, you can contact me. I will teach you about the fundamentals of electromagnetic fields. Okay, so that you can understand the third unit also clearly. Okay, we'll proceed now. So now here the laws, the governing laws of the magnetic field are, some of the laws are there. So for example, Ohm's law is there for the electric fields also. Now similarly here also Ohm's law is also existing for magnetic circuits also. Now in the electric field here, at the formula of Ohm's law, R is equal to V by I. V by I. Or in other words, we can say that I is equal to V by R in the electrical circuits. Now the statement of Ohm's law on the electrical circuit is that the current passing through a conductor is directly proportional to its applied potential V at constant temperature. I is proportional to V. Now similarly for the case of magnetic circuit also, now current in the electric circuit can be replaced with magnetic flux phi in magnetic circuit, so that the magnetic flux phi is directly proportional to V is proportional to an MMF, magnetomotive force in a magnetic circuit, is right? So that's why the flux is directly proportional to an MMF in magnetic circuits. This slide I will show you. In the previous slides also I show you the same thing. While comparing the electrical and magnetic quantities, as you have seen that, EMF is directly proportional to MMF and current is proportional to flux. Resistance is proportional to reluctance. So that now in the electrical circuits, Ohm's law is that I is directly proportional to an applied potential V. And in the magnetic circuit, the flux phi, because flux is proportional to current here. The flux is proportional to an MMF. So that here the flux is proportional to MMF. Okay. whereas in the electrical circuit, the proportionality constant is resistance. Now here the proportional constant is reluctance. Okay. Come back to the same slide. Okay. This is the law the first law governing the electromagnetic fields is that the flux is directly proportional to an MMF. The proportionality constant is reluctance here. Reluctance. Now the second law to be followed in the Argand circuit is that, okay, one second. Now there are two laws are there in the analytic fields. They are going to be talking about how an EMF is going to be induced. How an EMF is going to be induced. How an electromotive force is going to be induced. That is the Faraday's first law and Faraday's second law. There are two laws are there for the Faraday's first law. Now, whenever a conductor cuts, magnetic flux lines, whenever a conductor cuts the magnetic flux lines, then an EMF is going to be induced in that conductor. Now, second law gives the magnitude of induced EMF. The magnitude of induced EMF is directly proportional to E is proportional to N into d phi by dt. The induced EMF is directly proportional to rate of change of flux linkages. The proportionality constant N is a number of turns. So the Faraday's Michael Faraday, the Faraday's first law tells how an EMF is going to be induced. At the principle of induced EMF. Second law gives a magnitude of induced EMF. So here the first law gives that whenever a conductor cuts the magnetic flux lines, then an EMF is going to be induced in that conductor, but not in the magnetic flux lines. So that in order to induce an EMF, we require a conductor and magnetic flux lines. Two things are required for the production of induced EMF: a conductor and a magnetic flux lines. Okay. Without conductor and without the magnetic flux lines, it's not possible to induce an EMF. That's the first law. Now, a magnitude of the induced EMF can be given by the Faraday as E is, that is, an induced EMF is directly proportional to rate of change of flux linkages. There should be rate of change of flux linkages. That is, the flux waveform should be changing with respect to time t. A time varying field should be there. Okay, a time varying field should be there. Now, that induced EMF, the proportionality constant is the number of turns N into d phi by dt. N into d phi by dt minus N it is. So that here negative sign is due to Lenz's law. Negative sign here is due to Lenz's law. Lenz's law. Lenz's law is based on Newton's third law. It is here. So that the Newton's third law states that for every reaction there is equal and opposite reaction. So that here also Lenz's law said that for every an effect there is a cause, or there is a cause here. So that here the negative sign is because of Lenz's law here. because of Lenz's law. So that E is the effect. E is an effect. An induced EMF is the effect. An induced EMF is the effect because of cause is rate of change of flux linkages d phi by dt. Because now the direction of the induced EMF is opposite to its cause. It is opposite to its cause. So that here you got here a negative sign. Okay. Now afterwards, to find out the magnitude of induced EMF also, we will be having some laws. To find the magnitude of the induced EMF, we will be having Fleming's right hand rule proposed by the person called Fleming. So that here, if we can place the three fingers, thumb, forefinger, and middle finger. One second. పెట్టేసినాడు అంతా 500 200 వంది ఫస్ట్ కావాలంటే తర్వాత ఇంకో 100 ఇచ్చే ఫస్ట్ 100 కావాలంటే తర్వాత ఇంకో 100 ఇచ్చే. Okay, to come back here, so that it is the Fleming's right hand rule. So here, if we can stretch out the right hand, thumb, forefinger, and middle finger here, or the thumb should be placed in the direction of motion, direction of motion, and forefinger should be, forefinger should be placed in the direction of the magnetic field. Then the effect, that is the result of produced an induced EMF, can be given by your middle finger. That is to know the direction of the induced EMF. So first of all, we should know the direction of magnetic field and direction of the speed of the conductor, motion of the conductor also. Now we will think about how to find out the direction of the magnetic field. Now this can be find out by right hand thumb rule. As I said in the previous class here, the direction of the magnetic field can be found out by right hand thumb rule. Right hand thumb rule it is. I will show you the right hand thumb rule diagram. I got the diagram of the right hand thumb rule. I will show it to you now. So this is the direction of current carrying conductor. So for example, if we can place the direction of the current carrying conductor, this is the conductor which is carrying a current of I. Now if you can hold this conductor in the direction such that the thumb is pointing towards the direction of the current, thumb should be in the direction of the current, then the folded fingers will be indicating the direction of the magnetic field flux lines phi, right? So that the direction of the magnetic field can be found out by means of using right hand thumb rule. Right hand thumb rule is that let us hold the current carrying conductor with your right hand such that the thumb should be in the direction of current I. Then the folded fingers are going to be indicating the direction of the flux phi. So from this one, if we can draw the vector diagram of electric field I and flux phi, this is the vector diagram. That is, the first thing to be appearing is I, an electric field, then followed by the magnetic field of flux phi. The time delay between electric and magnetic field is 90 degrees. 9 degrees. So that if we can speak in terms of waveforms here, a current I or the electric field is leading the magnetic field by 90 degrees. In other words, the magnetic field is lagging behind the electric field by 9 degrees. That is circuit waveform, that is. Forget about that one. So, further to understand right hand thumb rule, you hold the current carrying conductor such that your thumb should be in the direction of current. Then the folded fingers are going to be indicating the direction of the magnetic field. Okay. So based upon this one, we can try to find out. We will try to find out this parameter. That is the direction of the magnetic field. The direction of the forefinger can be one from right hand thumb rule application. Now you must know the direction of motion of the conductor. Motion of the conductor may be in the clockwise direction or maybe in the clockwise direction. Therefore, if I know this direction and this direction, then I can find out the direction of the magnetic direction of the induced EMF. Direction of the induced EMF. This is your right hand thumb rule. I repeat again. The laws governing the magnetic fields are Ohm's law, are simply saying that the magnetic flux is directly proportional to MMF, MMF in a magnetic circuit. So what is the proportionality constant is reluctance term R. Fine. Second law, Faraday's laws. Faraday has proposed two laws. Faraday's first law and Faraday's second law. Now Faraday's first law gives how an EMF is going to be induced. Faraday's first law simply gives how an EMF is going to be induced. How it is going to be induced? Whenever a conductor cuts the magnetic fluxes, then an EMF is going to be induced in that conductor. Now the Faraday's second law gives the magnitude of induced EMF. Magnitude of induced EMF is that E is directly proportional to time rate of change of flux linkages, d phi by dt. d phi by dt. Now, whereas the induced EMF is a vector quantity, so that magnitude of this vector is given by the Faraday's second law, and direction of induced EMF. Direction of induced EMF can be found out by using Fleming's right hand rule. Fleming's right hand rule or Lenz's law. So these are the two laws that are going to be governing the electromagnetic field, and there is a third important law also, Fleming's right hand rule. This law also as you have seen. Now, one more important crucial law to solve the problems in the magnetic field sector is an Ampere circuit law. An Ampere circuit law. This law is very important here. Now this law simply states that the algebraic sum of MMF in a closed loop of magnetic circuit is equal to 0. Okay, it simply says that the algebraic sum of MMF in a closed loop is equal to 0. That is arithmetically that can be given as sigma f is equal to 0. Whereas here the MMF can be given in terms of magnetic field strength H and L. You know that the magnetic field strength H is given as H is equal to magnetic flux density B by unit length of the conductor L. So that H into L H into L is equal magnetic field. Here over here H into L is that an MMF. I'm sorry, a little bit here. So that H is equal to an MMF. MMF is equal to force, and MMF per unit length is called as electric field intensity H. So that H into L is equal to an MMF. So sigma H into L is equal to 0. Sigma H into L is equal to 0. Or MMF can be written also as phi into R. Flux into it is reluctance. Flux into reluctance. Flux into reluctance is also equal to 0. Okay. So keep in mind this law here. This law is very important to solve the problems. Solve the problems in the third unit. Now, the fifth law is Kirchhoff's flux law or Kirchhoff magnetism law. This law simply says that the algebraic sum of fluxes at a junction is equal to 0. So that Kirchhoff's law or Kirchhoff flux law is similar to Kirchhoff current law. It is similar to Kirchhoff current law. And Ampere circuit law is similar to KVL law. So that these two laws can be remembered in this manner to solve the problems. KVL law in the magnetic circuit is an Ampere circuit law, and KCL law in the magnetic circuits is a Kirchhoff flux law. Their meaning is same. Now we will try to solve this one here. So here the Kirchhoff's magnetism law says that the sum of algebraic sum of fluxes at a junction is equal to 0. So let me take an example here. This is a magnetic circuit. Now in this magnetic circuit, this is the flux phi A path, and this is the flux phi B path. This is the flux phi C path. So that now this is a junction. From this junction R, at this junction, how many fluxes are there? 3 fluxes are there. Flux phi A and flux phi B and flux phi C. So here the flux phi A at this junction is going to be dividing into 2 more fluxes of phi B and phi C. So that by Kirchhoff magnetism law, the sum of entering fluxes phi A is equal to leaving fluxes at this node. These two are the leaving fluxes. Flux phi A is an entering flux. I clear the screen and I will re-explain this now. Now at this junction A, flux phi A is the incoming flux, and flux phi B and flux phi C are the outgoing fluxes. So sum of the incoming flux phi A is equal to sum of the outgoing fluxes phi B and phi C. Phi B and phi C it is. Now similarly at the junction B also there are 3 fluxes. Outgoing flux at junction B is phi A, and the incoming flux is phi B, and one more incoming flux of phi C. So sum of the incoming fluxes phi B plus phi C, phi B plus phi C is equal to sum of the outgoing fluxes phi A. Is clear? Respond please. Do you understand this example? Do you understand this example?
Yes,
Similar
sir.
to KCL. Okay. Do you understand
Yes,
this?
sir.
Very simple example it is. That is Kirchhoff magnetism law is similar to KCL. It is similar to KCL. And here an Ampere circuit law is similar to KVL law. This can be remembered in this manner. Okay. So based upon these two laws, we will try to solve some problems in this class. Then afterwards finish now. We take this example. So now in this example, you need to determine. This is the transformer. There are two types of materials are being used in this transformer: sheet steel, and some tons are there. Single core is there. Area of this transformer is given in this manner, and length of this one is also given here. Now, determine the secondary current I2 for the transformer if the resultant clockwise flux in the core is. That here the flux value is given. This is flux value. You need to determine the secondary current I2 value is how much. Primary turns N1 is equal to 60 turns and I1 is equal to 20. What are the primary range MMF we can calculate, right? Primary MMF. Let me call this one as F1. So primary MMF is equal to F1. We can calculate this one as MMF is equal to N into I. Remember the formulas. Magnetomotive force MMF is equal to number of turns into current I. So that you can calculate this one. Now here there is one more MMF is there, second MMF, and Ft is equal to secondary turns N into I. Primary turns meaning that it is N1 into I1 and secondary turns N2 into I2. Now here aim is to calculate the secondary current I2. That is, first of all, we need to determine the secondary MMF. Now this entire magnetic circuit can be simply drawn in terms of circuit forms in this manner, right? Now the previous magnetic circuit is going to be indicated in terms of the circuit. There are two MMF are there. An MMF due to a primary supply N1 into I1 and secondary MMF due to secondary supply of an N2 into I2 and N2 into I2. Reluctance of this path, single path in. Now in the problem, this is its electrical equivalent circuit. That is, this magnetic circuit is being converted in, can be convertible into an electrical circuit also. That is, we can solve this problem in terms of the electrical circuits of your first unit, second unit, 4 and 5th units here. But now it is a magnetic circuit. Now in the problem, as you have been given, the flux is given 1.5 into 10 power minus 5 Weber, and area of the core is also given, so that you can calculate the flux density B. So that you can calculate the flux density B is equal to 5 by A. Then, if once the flux density is calculated, now you have to refer for the BH loop curve. A BH loop curve will be normally provided in the problem itself, or else the data can be provided. Now, while telling about the core losses, this is the BH loop curve. Now here the same loop curve can be normally provided by the manufacturer. So from the BH loop curve, for the calculated B value of the flux density of 0.1, this is the flux density B, this is B, So that for this calculator value from the graph of 0.1. So that here it is there. We can indicate the value of h. We can indicate the value of h. It is. This is the value of h. Is clear? Did you understand this one? Or how to calculate h value? Respond.
Once repeat, please, sir.
Did you understand how to calculate h value?
Once repeat, sir.
Yes, as I will repeat here. So that from the given data, you can calculate flux density B. Okay. Now in the given data, B is equal to 5 by A. I have been given the flux value is given. I have been given the flux value. The flux value of 1.5 into 10 power minus 5 Weber, and area is also given. So B is equal to 5 by A can be calculated. B is equal to flux by area value can be calculated. The flux density can be calculated. Now after calculating the flux density, I got a value of 0.1 Weber per meter square. Now after calculating flux density value, you refer the standard graph. This graph can be provided by the manufacturer. BH loop. This graph is indicating core loss, or hysteresis loop graph. BH curve can be given. BH curve or hysteresis loop. This graph will be provided by the manufacturer only. So that from this graph, for this calculated value of 0.1 flux density, so that y-axis is flux density and x-axis is your iron field intensity H. So for the calculated value of P is equal to 0.1, 0.1 is here. So for this one, corresponding to the type of material, it is sheet steel material as given in the problem itself. So for this value, you can indicate a line upon the x-axis. This value can give H value. Is it okay now?
Okay, sir.
Okay. So you don't bother about this graph. This graph will be provided by the manufacturer itself in the problem. BH loop curve or hysteresis loop will be provided by your manufacturer only. Okay, you don't worry about that graph sheet here. Depending upon the calculated value of B, a corresponding value of H can be identified in the graph. Okay, so that if H is identified, here, then you can then remaining things is easy. So this value of H is from calculate value from BH loop curve. So that if you can apply an Ampere circuital law, what is the Ampere circuital law? Or simply says that it is KVL. That is the sum of the what you say forces. The sum of the algebraic sum of the MMF forces within a loop is equal to 0. Okay. Before explaining this one, I will explain the graph also. According to the request of the student 24, I will explain once again this one. Okay, to be patient. So that here B, from the data given in the problem, we can calculate B, a flux density B. Then we will be provided with a graph sheet. will be provided with a graph of BH loop curve. Y-axis is B and x-axis is H. So that for this calculated value of 0.1 or 0.1 is here. Now we can extend this line to an x-axis. This value that gives you a H value. That gives you a H value now. Okay. That simply gives you the H value. Okay. Fine. Now we'll proceed now. After calculating that one, we can apply an Ampere circuital law. So an Ampere circuital law is that it is the algebraic sum
Guys, please wait for 5 minutes. At the SAR play home, the power is not there. So SAR told that please wait for 5 minutes.
అరే క్లాస్ ఎప్పటి వరకు రా
12:30 అంటారా
12:30 ఆపేస్తారా ఎక్స్టెండ్ అవుతుందా
చెప్ప
సరే సార్
At the SAR house, the power is cut. 2 minutes wait.
సిఆర్ నెక్స్ట్ క్లాస్ ఎప్పుడు రా మళ్ళీని?
ఏంట్రా?
నెక్స్ట్ క్లాస్ ఏంటి ఎప్పుడు?
2ంటికి ES.
సరే సరే.
అరే కార్తీక్ నీకు టైం టేబుల్ రాలేదా రా?
ఏమో ఎక్కడ మూలలో ఉంటది అది ఎతకలేను ఇప్పుడు.
మరి చూసుకుంటే
అదండి,
Okay, so come back here. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll start now. We'll continue. So, after calculating the H value, we can apply the Kirchhoff voltage law for the analytic circuits, that is an ampere circuit law. So that this law states that the algebraic sum of MMF, in the magnetic closed circuit is equal to 0. So that we are going to be applying the an ampere circuit law here. So that an MMF can be given N into I. We are having the 2 MMF in the circuits. Okay, we'll show you here. Now in the circuit, we are having an MMF 1 here, the first MMF and second MMF. I1 N1 plus I2 N2. There are 2 MMF are there. So that it is I1 N1, N1 I1 is equal and N2 I2. Now this is the drop appearing within the magnetic path here. So I will calculate this value, and simplifying this one, we can get our unknown value is your an I2 value, and simplify this equation for I2 and I2, and substitute these values. Now in the circuit it is given an N1 I1 is equal N1 is equal to 60 turns, and N1 is equal to 60, and I1 is equal to 2 amperes, and N2 is equal to 30 amperes. I2 is unknown value, and H value is calculated as 30. Okay, H value I have been calculated here as 30 here, and L value, mean length of the magnetic circuit is also given in this problem as like this, 0.16 meters. So substituting all this one, we can calculate I2 value. You can calculate I2 value by substituting all these parameters. Okay, we can calculate I2 value. Fine. Do you understand this problem, or is there any doubts here? Respond please. Do you understand this problem?
Yes, sir.
Or is there any doubt here?
No, sir.
No doubt. Okay, and everything is clear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We will finish this class here, and our next
Okay,
class
sir.
we will talk about types of induced EMF.
Sir?
Next class
Okay, sir.
we will talk about the types of induced EMFs.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
And attendance is very poor. I don't know what is the reason.
Not only for this class, sir. Every class you are getting same attendance, sir.
Not 12 to 15 only. Huh?
Yes, sir. For every class also you are getting same attendance, sir.
Okay, okay. Anyhow. Okay, thank you very much. We sharing
Thank
the
you, sir.
screenshots.
Yes, sir.
Hemant.
Okay, sir. I will forward you, sir.
Okay, okay, thank you.